Hello and welcome back to a brand new Round 2 Wrestling podcast here on the 20th of September, 2023. I am your host with the most wrestling information, SlimmDa KID, and for those of you who have never listened to this podcast, you are in for a treat. Round 2 Wrestling is very similar to a news broadcast. We have it broken down into 4 segments, or in this case, 4 rounds. Round 1, the pro wrestling rumor mill. These could be true, these could be fabricated, they could be a little bit of both. We then move on to round 2, pro wrestling news. This is actual, factual, confirmed news across multiple outlets. We then move on to round 3, title matches and those exclusive results brought to you by Round 2 Wrestling. We then conclude this brand new podcast with round 4, Did You Know? Did you know are little bits of information and facts about the wrestling world you may or may not have known about. However, we are going to kick things off here by taking a listen to the what ifs and maybes going on in the world of professional wrestling. This is round 1, the pro wrestling rumor mill. Dana White told Big Boy TV that he heard Shane McMahon wanted to buy the UFC in the early 2000s. This didn't happen because Vince McMahon was against the idea. A WWE source told House of Wrestling that major cuts are expected to hit WWE's main roster and NXT talent. These cuts have been planned for a while. Wrestling Observer Live's Brian Alvarez said Jade Cargill's AEW exit is not 100% a done deal, but the feeling from those within AEW is that she is gone. She's going to WWE. This is an interesting rumor that we will touch on a couple more times throughout this podcast. Wrestling Incorporated founder Raj Giri pushed back on the Cargill to WWE rumors, stating, quote, "From what I've heard, she is re-signed with AEW," end quote. According to BWE, WWE is discussing, quote, new title schemes following its merger with UFC. This includes new names, weight classes, trios, etc. This is an interesting rumor. WWE changes its titles like it changes its socks. Whether or not it has something that looks a little bit more like the UFC titles, we have yet to see. However, I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case. Fightful notes that Heath Slater's contract with Impact Wrestling is expiring soon. He will be a free agent in October if a new deal is not reached before then. WWE fired more than 100 employees during Friday's mass layoffs per PW Insider. Multiple divisions in the company were absolutely ripped apart because of these cuts. For example, the Insights and Analytics team of 20 plus people now only has 3 employees left. Matmen's Andrew Zarian is, quote, confident in saying that AEW will be on HBO Max in 2024 and AEW will expand its pay-per-view schedule to 12 in a year. PW Insider points out WWE and Hulu's contract extension may be about to expire as the streamer again lists its WWE content as expiring in 10 or 11 days. Fightful Select says QT Marshall has signed a new short-term contract with AEW, and he'll be with the company through 2023. Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel is looking to cut $50 million to $100 million in costs in WWE to increase profitability, says the Wrestling Observer newsletter. That draws to a conclusion round 1 in pro wrestling news. Enough to think about for the next week or 10 days or so, but let's keep this podcast going on. We are going to move right into round 2, pro wrestling news. Former AEW champion confirmed to be gone from the promotion. Former TBS champion Jade Cargill has been rumored to be signed to WWE. PWInsider.com reports Cargill is currently in Orlando, Florida for WWE. No word on what brand Cargill may be sent to, either straight to Raw or SmackDown, or if time in NXT is needed. So it is no longer a rumor. Jade Cargill is officially gone from AEW and seems to be a part of the World Wrestling Entertainment brand. CM Punk to AEW. Let's part ways and be done with it. After CM Punk's termination September 2nd from AEW, many speculated Punk would try to sue AEW for wrongful termination, thus keeping his contract money. WrestleZone reports this is not the case, as neither Punk nor AEW have any pending litigation against one another. What the terms and conditions about Punk and his contract with AEW has yet to be discussed or released. New Monday Night Wars. The NFL and WWE have had a storied history, with WWE always trying to find a way to beat its larger and much more influential competition. According to The Hollywood Reporter, ABC will air the entire season of Monday Night Football, with 10 additional games coming to the network. This essentially means that WWE will henceforth face stronger competition on Monday nights than when the games were solely on ESPN. ABC obviously has a wider reach than ESPN, and NFL games will be simulcast on both networks this season. So bad news for WWE on Monday nights. It's already been reported a couple times this year that Monday Night Football is severely cutting into the viewership for Monday Night Raw. What WWE does to try to correct this has yet to be seen. WWE will indeed be announcing that they are returning to Australia in early 2024 to run the 61,000 plus seat Optus Stadium in Australia. PWInsider.com has confirmed this with multiple sources. This event would be the latest international stadium event presented by WWE and the first stadium event in Australia since 2018's Super Showdown in Melbourne. Injuries are just a matter of time from happening for all wrestlers. Triple A wrestler El Hijo del Vikingo is a man in demand as he wrestles for AEW, Ring of Honor, and Triple A in addition to his many indie bookings. While speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer noted Vikingo is dealing with a hip injury, putting his Mega Championship match in Triple A this weekend against Commander in jeopardy. This is such a serious issue that Vikingo has been wheelchair-bound since this hip injury occurred and has not been seen outside of the wheelchair in a week or so. Wrestling and football is a weird marriage and is a complicated one as well. The XFL, owned by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and former wife Dani Garcia, was purchased from WWE owner Vince McMahon after the 2020 season. The USFL just completed its second season after its reinception in 2021, after folding in the late 1980s. Axios.com reports that the XFL is seeking to merge with the USFL. The report states the two sides are, quote, in advanced talks. Sportico is also reporting the two leagues are in talks for a merger. Per Axios' report, the talks would see a 50-50 merger between the two sides, with broadcasts for the games going to be split between Disney and Fox-owned stations. That draws to a conclusion round 2 and pro wrestling news. It was a little short, but what we had was incredibly information-packed and insightful. Let's keep this gravy train rolling and move right into round 3, title matches. Warning, this next segment may contain spoilers, including matches for WWE, AEW, GCW in Liverpool, Ring of Honor, CMLL, AAA, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and more. AEW International Champion Jon Moxley defeated Big Bill to retain the AEW International Championship. AEW TBS Champion Chris Statlander defeated Jade Cargill to retain the AEW TBS Championship. This is reportedly Cargill's last AEW match. Zexis and Stephanie Vacour defeated CMLL Women's World Tag Team Champions Chicas Indomables to become the new CMLL Women's World Tag Team Champions. AEW World Tag Team Champions FTR defeated Iron Savages to retain the AEW World Tag Team titles. AEW TBS Champion Chris Statlander defeated Dr. Britt Baker to retain the AEW TBS Championship. GCW Ultra-Violent Champion Rina Yamashita defeated Session Moth Martina to retain the GCW Ultra-Violent Championship. GCW World Champion Blake Christian defeated Leon Slater to retain the GCW World Championship. Ring of Honor Pure Champion Katsuyori Shibata defeated Nick Wayne to retain the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. Ring of Honor Women's World Champion Athena defeated Angelina Love to retain the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. Ring of Honor Six-Man Tag Team Champions the Mogul Embassy defeated the Infantry to retain the Ring of Honor Six-Man Tag Team Championships. GCW World Champion Blake Christian defeated Man Like DeReese to retain the GCW World Championship. NXT Women's Champion Becky Lynch defeated Natalya to retain the NXT Women's Championship. NWA Women's World Champion Kenzie Page defeated Samantha Starr to retain the NWA Women's World Championship. That draws to an end round 3 and title matches. Be sure to listen to round 2 wrestling again just in case you missed your favorite promotion and whether or not its champion is still champion or if a new one was crowned. We are at the end of round 2 wrestling, so we are going to move right into round 4, Did You Know? Did you know are little bits of information and facts about the wrestling world you may or may not have known about. You gotta love the bell. Did you know the WWF's Brawl to End It All garnered the highest television rating for MTV in July of 1984, yet was the lowest attended Madison Square Garden card in over 14 years? Did you know Tito Santana was once known as Richard Blood during his wrestling career? It also happens to be the real name of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Did you know David Flair is credited for being the first person to defeat John Cena in Ohio Valley Wrestling, or OVW, when Cena was known as the Prototype? Did you know John Cena's first WWE contract was for over $12,000 a year? And did you know Sasha Banks was called up from developmental to try out as Fandango's new dance partner? She was featured on at least one house show, with the gig ultimately going to Summer Rae. That draws to a conclusion round 2 wrestling. I am SlimmDa KID, and I personally want to thank you for listening to this brand new podcast. Be sure to tune in next week as I bring you more news, more rumors, and more results from the world of professional wrestling. Round 2 Wrestling is brought to you by SlimmDa KID and Spreaker.com.